This is the all-new Bauer SLT. And if I do say so myself, this is the best Bauer reel they've ever made. And today, I'm here to review it. That's right, the SLT is the best Bauer reel ever. And that's a bold claim, but I think I'll be able to back it up. But before we dive into it, let's talk about what the SLT is. The SLT is Bauer's all-new saltwater big game reel. If you're familiar with the history of Bauer, or the brief history, you'll know that they are part of the same group of companies as Winston. And Winston has not had tremendous success in the saltwater market. And frankly, neither has Bauer. The reels have been much more geared towards steelhead in the Pacific Northwest than tarpon and bonefish. But the SLT is designed to change that. And I think this reel competes really well with the top competitors in the saltwater game. And to see why, let's talk about our 5 factors, starting with the drag. And the drag on this SLT is really good. We've got about 1.5 turns of drag adjustment, which is a fairly good amount. I prefer something that's more than a single turn drag, but sort of less than 3 turns. And this SLT obviously delivers that. And I think what's more important is that you are getting usability along that entire range. So if you turn that from 0 to, say, a 1/2 turn, you're going to see that drag actually increase. Turn it another 1/2 turn, and you're getting quite a bit of drag strength already. Crank it all the way down, and you're going to get an absolutely insane amount of drag strength. We haven't been able to measure it, but I'm going to put it in the 10 to 20 pound range. For an 8-weight size reel, that is so vastly more than you'll ever need. In fact, it's so much, I really hope that they've designed a frame that can actually handle it, because it is that much drag. And of course, being a reel that's designed for saltwater, this drag is fully sealed and you won't have any problems or need to do any maintenance whatsoever. So let's move on to the spool. And the spool on this is pretty good. As you can tell, it's not a massive reel. So those of you who are looking for that Lamson Hyperspeed, you've probably already bought one. On this SLT, we've got a max diameter of 3.8 inches, a width of about 1.2 inches, which is admittedly just a hair wider than the sort of 1-inch standard that we've come to see, and an arbor size of 2.45 inches, which is pretty good. It's definitely not a mega arbor reel, and the sort of overall dimensions reflect that. It's going to pick up line at about 9 inches per turn, or about 130 turns for your 100-foot fly line. 9 inches per turn has sort of become the standard retrieval rate for these big game reels, and it's definitely not extra fast, but it's totally fine. And unless you're in a really extreme fishing situation, it is absolutely good enough. In terms of backing capacity, this reel is absolutely huge. We are reviewing the 7/8/9 size here, and I would guess that you could probably fit 300 yards of 20-pound Dacron with your 8-weight fly line. That is a lot. You're probably going to be able to fit 250 with your 9-weight. So this is solidly a size up reel in terms of capacities. And given the amount of drag, you could probably even use this as a 10-weight if you so chose. And I think that actually adds to the value of the reel, because if retrieval rate is not a key concern for you, you've got a reel that you can switch out and use from a 7-weight all the way through a 10-weight. I think that's pretty cool. Up next is the weight, and if there is one downside to this SLT, it is that it is heavy. And this one here comes in at a hair over 10 ounces, which by today's standards is a fairly heavy 8-weight reel. We also reviewed the Nautilus GTS today, and that reel is almost half the weight of this SLT. I would say this is going to be a reel that's better suited for those sight fishing situations than it is for casting all day long. Before we continue, I wanted to let you know about Trident Travel, our new destination travel service where you'll get our expert planning and guidance at no additional cost. That means no credit card fees, no booking fees, and for a limited time, you'll even earn Trident rewards on your travel bookings. So for every trip you book, you'll be earning valuable points that you can use towards free tackle here at Trident. Recently, we've had some clients go on some absolutely fantastic trips, like salmon fishing in British Columbia, trout fishing in Colorado, and Arctic char fishing in Iceland. So if you're thinking about taking a fly fishing trip, Trident Travel is the way to do it. We've got a ton of great destinations, excellent service, and even more destinations being added every month. Check us out at tridentflyfishing.com/travel. Up next is the sound, and let's take a listen. The sound on this reel is really nice, and there's a little bit of differentiation from the incoming to the outgoing, but unfortunately, it's really muted. So if you're looking for that feedback, that nice sound when a fish is ripping drag, you're not really going to find it here. Last but not least is the ergonomics, and the ergonomics of this SLT are fantastic. The drag knob is one of the absolute best drag knobs. It's really big, it's really easy to grab, it's really easy to dial in the exact amount of drag that you want. Similarly, they've done a fantastic job on the handle, and they've in fact done an anodized aluminum handle, which is just a really nice touch. And I think it's really something that just goes above and beyond, and that's really kind of how this whole reel is built. Of course, switching the spool is also very easy. You just turn that little knob there and it pops right off. And it's just as easy to reconnect it. Now it's time to talk about the price, which is unfortunately also a little bit high. This reel comes in at $8.95, which puts it in the competition of the higher priced saltwater reels out there. Of course, it's less than a Mako, but it's right up there with just about everything else. What I will say is that from a quality perspective, this reel is absolutely as good as any reel out there. Hatch, Nautilus, Able. This reel feels just as good and has a tremendous drag, and while I didn't mention it previously, it's also a really, really smooth drag. So if that smoothness and that tippet protection is important to you, that's definitely going to be a feature that you will love on this SLT. And because of that, I do think there is some value to be had, but if you're not familiar with Bauer, maybe you've never heard of Bauer, you've probably heard of Hatch and Nautilus, and those are going to be sort of easier to fork over that money. But if you are looking for a true, incredibly high performance saltwater reel, you really deserve to check out this new Bauer. It is every bit as good as those, and for some people, it might be better. Tell us what you think about this new SLT by leaving us a comment in the box below. And don't forget, if you want to get notified of every reel review we do, please subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out. And of course, if you've got questions about this SLT or any saltwater fly reel, give us a call at 888-413-5211 or email us 24/7 at support@tridentflyfishing.com. I'm Ben. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.